It's Power 106 Brown Bag Mornings. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Yeah,
we
good
got
morning.
our guy Chris Jericho, the legend.
Yeah.
Bow down.
I really can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, same here.
I was clapping for myself. Yay me! Yay me!
You just being the legend that you are, people are going to follow you any which way that you go. And it's so cool that we get to see you live at the Forum. Have any of you guys ever seen the wrestling stuff live?
I've seen it live. I've gone to SummerSlam and WrestleMania.
Oh, okay.
So SummerSlam and
Okay,
WrestleMania.
so your vibes.
I want to go to AEW.
All right, now you got a chance.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Oh, you know what? I'll get you tickets.
Oh,
See how easy it is?
He is like Jesus. You look like Jesus. And you're gifting us.
I'm the Robin Hood of pro wrestling right now. Taking tickets and giving them to my friends here in Brown Bag Morning.
Perfect.
Love it.
Perfect.
Let's go.
I wanted to know, what's this new learning tree moniker that you have going?
So it's funny because when you've been around as long as I have, there's a lot of times on like social media, people will say really kind of angry, mean things like, "How dare he still be alive? He should never be on TV again." So I kind of created this whole persona basically to piss them off. Where it's the learning tree. With the 33 years of experience that I have, I need to be on TV more to teach people and help the young guys learn, bring them into the Jericho vortex and make them part of the Jericho universe so they become better people, not just in the ring, but out of the ring as well. I'm not just teaching wrestling. I'm teaching. I was just going to say that. You got my line. Life lessons. So yeah, it's a new character that I'm really enjoying, having a great time with. And if you know anything about my career, I always evolve and change and keep things fresh. You know, there's no nostalgia really with Chris Jericho, even though I appreciate the fact that there's a lot of people that have been following me for a long time, which is great.
Since Y2J.
Since Y2J. And that's awesome. But I never, if I was still Y2J in 2024, I mean, that was, 25 years ago.
Nobody would even know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So there's people that know the Y2J, and there's people that know, the Drink It In Man and the List of Jericho, and then here with All Elite Wrestling, with AEW, with the Demo God and the Wizard and Le Champion and now the Learning Tree. And some people are like, how many nicknames does Jericho have? I have all of them. All of them.
I heard Corazón de León.
Corazón de León.
I love that one. Where did that come from?
So I used to wrestle in Mexico City.
Wow.
Yeah, Corazón de León was my name when I wrestled. It was called CMLL, Consejo Mundial Lucha Libre. So that was like almost 30 years ago when I was Corazón de León. So sometimes I go back into that persona.
Does it ever trip you out seeing how many luchadores out there? It's not just our guy from San Diego.
Rey Mysterio.
It's not just Rey Mysterio. There's a bunch of Rey Mysterios out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's really become more prevalent, but like in the early 90s, there was no luchadors really in the States because it was all about size and being really big back then.
True.
Yeah.
So the smaller guys that worked in Mexico and Japan, and I was one of them, we were more unique. And that's why I did really well in Mexico because I was a güero, blonde hair.
Yeah. I love it.
Sin Máscara, I didn't have a mask. But wrestling was so popular then in Mexico City. And then it started to leak outside into the States where you had a lot of the luchadors and the exciting style.
Yeah.
And I kind of have that vibe too, the lucha element from my background. I mean, I was living there when I was like 22 years old, living in Mexico City.
Oh, wow. You're one of us now.
Yeah.
You're Mexican national.
I am.
Okay?
I'm an honorary Mexicano.
Speaking of different monikers, when you came into the WWE now as Y2J, can you talk about like that moniker and that feeling of like that intro, that first
the countdown.
Yeah. So once again, I had come from WCW at the time, and it was kind of this is pre-internet. Internet was just kind of starting, so it was kind of the worst kept secret that Chris Jericho was going to be there, and it was 1999, which was right before Y2K was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, my last name is Jericho with a J, Y2J. It's genius.
Perfect.
It's genius.
Yeah, so and I think anytime you go into a new company or anytime you change from good guy to bad guy, it's good to have a new name and a new persona and a new look. Like we just talked about with the Learning Tree in AEW. And that's kind of what I did with Y2J back in WWF in 99. And it was amazing because I came in at a really high position, interrupting The Rock.
The Rock, yeah.
You couldn't start much higher. Yeah. So it was a real kind of great coming out moment that this Chris Jericho is here. And there was a lot of people, it was in Chicago, that knew I was going to be there. So there was a big reaction, thought I was going to be there. And it was just a really great way to kind of kick off the next stage of Chris Jericho's
Do you still have the light up jacket too?
I still have those, yeah. They were, so I had 4 of them made, light up jackets, probably about 10 years ago. They had light bulbs in them and a little switch, and you would glow. And the thing is, they were really, they're made to be like on a mannequin on display.
Not on a person.
Worn, carried around the country. So half the time, like half of it would go dead, or like 3 of them would be working, 3 of them wouldn't.
Like our Christmas lights, like
that's exactly right. If one of them goes out, they all go out. Cool thing is, though, it's now at the Hard Rock Cafe in Tampa. Amazing. It was in the Hard Rock Cafe in London, and they have it plugged in so it's always glowing. The first
that's
blue
cool.
one. So that's the best place for it. Just leave it there,
to go watch it,
make it an artifact, and it was a cool stage in my career. But carrying those around were very hard.
That's super dope. Yeah. I'm curious, what role do you play at AEW now? Like, are you like the leader of the locker room, or like what's your role, like kind of like backstage?
Well, I think the learning tree is kind of, we were using it as a character, but there's a lot of that sort of mentorship that goes on as well. Having been in the business as long as I have and been to so many places and kind of been through anything that any wrestler could go through, there is a lot of that, a lot of leadership, I would say, and a lot of sharing experience. And just being there, just being cool. There's a lot of kids in the locker room that watched me when you were talking about, the Y2J or debut or whatever it may be. So those guys kind of grew up watching me. So now I'm working with them. But it's like any sports team. You've got the vet that's kind of helping the younger guys, helping the rookies, and helping the team get better for years to come. Yeah.
Does it ever trip you out, Jericho, that you can kind of see it, because sometimes things kind of repeat themselves. Certain personalities, you're like, oh, they're about to go through that. Oh, I remember when I was this young and I saw that.
Always.
And being the learning tree, but some people don't want to learn.
Yeah.
They got to learn on their own. But
You're
you're
right.
seeing it's like, I could have told you, but look now, you're watching it happen.
And you might even tell them, and that it's like having a child. You tell them something, don't stick your finger in the light socket, and they just have to do it. It's like, I told you not to do that. But yeah, you can see it. Like I especially now with social media, because like I mentioned earlier, there's so many like just mean-spirited people and a lot of negative people, and if you don't know how to navigate that, it can really affect you,
right?
And so you just have to understand that we are in charge as far as the wrestlers. We call the shots, not the fans. And even though a lot of fans think they know what's going on, they really don't. We're still the master of puppets in that world, and just kind of explaining that to the guys and girls, and helping them realize that one person's opinion with a mean tweet or something, that don't let it bother you. Just thick skin.
Who was that for you coming up? I know you definitely love Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, Shawn was one of those. I kind of really came into my own working with Shawn in 2008, and he helped me. There was a guy called Pat Patterson that was like one of the top behind the scenes guys in WWE and WWF. He was a real great mentor for me, not just for the psychology of wrestling in the ring, but also how to navigate kind of the political waters, the backstage elements of it. So there was people like that throughout the years that you could really go to and get some real straight advice from. And that's what we all need as you guys know as radio personalities. You need to hear not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Things that are really going to help you. Maybe it shakes you up a bit, like, hey man, you're saying too much on the radio. It's the number one thing when you first and it's like,
I love it that you know this, because you have a podcast too.
I did podcasts for 10 years, and you go listen to the early ones, and even before that I did a lot of radio shows and things along those lines, and you could hear yourself like, oh, there's awkward silence, and there's too many and likes, and like laughing at yourself or whatever it may be, and you learn, and you pass those tips along, because the overall thing with AEW is we started out so huge out of the gate, and the company grew so fast. We just had our 5-year anniversary. But there's so much more to come. So it's helping make the company as big as we possibly can, and help it continue to grow, because it grows fast, and sometimes it's hard to have all that responsibility for some of these guys and girls. But I'm trying to help them understand that it's a good thing to have pressure, and they're kind of really responding in the best way.
Do you feel like wrestling's bigger than it's ever been?
I think so, and I think one of the reasons for that is it's so much based on television ratings now.
Right.
Whereas, even 10 years ago, it was the attendance in the arenas.
Right.
And now it's like the arena attendance is important, but that's not where you're making your money from. You're not making your money from pay-per-views anymore. You're making your money from the television. And wrestling, much like football or hockey, or basketball is live.
Yeah.
And live sports in AEW is sports, entertainment, obviously, but it's still live, is so valuable because people aren't really tuning in after. We can binge watch any show on Netflix. It doesn't matter when you watch it.
Right.
Sports, you want to watch the game, the show right then and there. Who won the match? It's like you don't want to find out online and go back and watch it.
Tweet. You want.
That's exactly right, and be a part of it. So I think that's why wrestling is the money behind it has gone through the roof because of the television and how important that is, and the television rights. I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars for these rights fees. So, it makes a big deal to have that live element.
To me, it's the storylines that get me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's the storylines that are told over like years and months. Yeah. And that's why we're trying to explain to Letty and the other girls in the room. They're like, "Why do you guys love wrestling so much?" I'm like, "You don't understand.
We geek out so much
because it's been a 5-year transition from him to do this and do that, and it's long-term storytelling. So we get into it like you were in Mexico City, so you probably heard of novelas, right?
Yeah.
So it's
operas,
in a way it's like that, but it's like these dudes are just fighting each other, and it's almost like gladiator.
Well, I mean, the story is the most important thing, right? Like the matches are important, but the story is what really connects people, and the personas, the characters, and it's like, for example, Game of Thrones,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a show about dragons. There's dragons in it, but it's the show about this fight for power.
Yeah.
Wrestling is like that too. Yes, the matches are important, but it's about the reasons for the matches. Why are we having these matches? What is the finish of the match that leads to this next stage of the story? And there's a lot of some people want instant gratification. Nowadays, they want to know the entire. We watched Jericho's storyline last week. It didn't make any sense. It's like, guys, it's one chapter. If you watch 5 minutes of Pulp Fiction, you're going to wonder what the hell's going on.
Right.
You have to watch the whole thing and then decide, okay, this overall story arc was good, bad, or whatever. And that's kind of what it's like for wrestling as well. If you can connect with the audience and what it is that you're doing, and make them really invested into the story, then they're always going to come back and watch and see where it goes.
What's been one of your personal favorite storylines that you've had?
I mean, there's been so many. You talked about the Shawn Michaels storyline in 2008, which ended up being, an 8-month program that ended up, we were fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship, which we were never supposed to. It was supposed to be like a 1-month thing. I had a year-long storyline with MJF here in AEW, which was a great twisting and turning kind of two guys that don't like each other become friends, and then they work together and they turn on each other. And that's kind of, you mentioned the novellas. That's what wrestling's kind of all about. And even this Learning Tree storyline that we're doing right now, I'm having so much fun with it because it's just firing in people's faces that just thought they knew everything, and I love that element of it, of being able to switch and reading the room. You let the story, you follow the story.
Right.
You don't try and lead the story. You let the story lead you. And if you can do that, then you go with the flow. You know what I mean? You kind of go where you need to go and make changes as you need to. But it's can create something very entertaining and something very engaging. That's the goal of wrestling.
Yeah. Who was the hardest hitter in wrestling? You felt that when they were to either spear you or something, when it hurt.
There's
who was that
lot
person?
Of them. I mean, I just had a match with a dude from Japan, Shibata, a couple weeks ago, and 79 chops.
79.
Back and forth. We had a 3-minute television break after wrestling. We just chopped each other the whole time. 79 times.
Even when it goes to commercials, you guys are still.
And some of it, and afterwards, my epidermis or whatever you want to call it, it gets so swollen and red that then it can't. The pores are. So then it just zits everywhere. I look like a teenager. Zits and red marks, and it's just like not good for a beach look. But those types of matches are always really fun. Like when you get in there and feel it with those hard-hitting guys, like John Moxley is like that. Very strong style. Bryan Danielson. When you get in the ring with those guys, you're in for a fight. And even though the concept of wrestling is to make it look as hard-hitting as possible, sometimes guys just forget about that and just make it as hard as possible. But that's okay. I mean, I came up in Canada in the dungeon, Stu Hart's dungeon, and worked Japan quite a bit. So I like it when you get into it a little bit. makes it a little bit more. You can feel it.
Part of the game. It reminds you of all of that.
You have to be a little bit warped to be in pro wrestling, so that side comes out when you get in there with those types of matches.
Look, AEW Dynamite is going down tonight at the Forum. We have Chris Jericho in here with us. Chris, I wanted to talk to you about being the heel or being the hero, okay? This is a term that I just learned. Like the heel, the bad guy, but sometimes we love the heel more than even the good guys, right?
Yeah.
You've kind of had to maneuver between both.
Yes.
Is there one, and I'm wondering, do you even get to choose, or is it the audience that chooses whether you're the heel or
it's the audience that chooses? It really is. Like I mentioned, going with the flow and reading the room.
Right.
Even one of the reasons why I created the learning tree. It was time to do something different and go heel. Babyface is a good guy. Heel is a bad guy. And to me, as long as you need a great dragon, if you need a great dragon, if you're gonna have a great dragon slayer, you have to have a great villain for the babyface to vanquish. But the thing is with wrestling, it's a lot easier to get people to hate you than it is to get them to like you. And the way to get them to like you is to have them hate you at first.
This is crazy.
Yes. Crazy, right?
I feel like I don't want anyone to hate me, but then it's like, no, in wrestling, it's like even better.
That's your cheers, or when people are booing you, yelling vicious, angry, mean things to you. And if you look at any movie villain, it always look at the Terminator or Hannibal Lecter or Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, or Heath Ledger as the Joker. The heels are so entertaining that you start to love them.
Yeah.
I mean, Terminator 2, he had to be a babyface because he was so cool as the heel in Terminator, right? And that kind of is a little secret that I figured out very early on. Like, if you want people to like you, you got to get them to really be mad at you at first, and then suddenly become so entertaining that they can't help it but to start following you and liking you.
Yeah, before you know, it's like, I've been following this wrestler for 10 years. I'm like, well, how did this happen? Like, I used to hate him.
Well, I mean, even like I mentioned with the Learning Tree, it's only been about a month, but there's already people that are chanting Learning Tree, whereas a week ago they were chanting "Please retire."
Oh my God! Yeah.
That was a good one too, though, because whenever they chant "Please retire," I'm like, I know you want me to retire, because the moment I do, I'll be inducted into every wrestling Hall of Fame in the world. That's why you want me to retire, but I'm not ready for that. Neither are you. You don't know what's best for you yet. Only I do.
Do you find that wrestling fans are probably like some of the most vicious fans?
Like, if you could get past them, you could get past anybody, troll, any hater.
Any troll. Wrestling fans, Kiss fans, and Star Wars fans are the worst/best fans. They hate everything, but they'll still go and show up and be there. But you can really see that with wrestling. And once again, it's just kind of the world that we live in, and you have to have that thick skin and don't let it bother you. Like I said, we know kind of what we're doing and where we want to go with the stories and the characters, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, one of my favorite shows to watch is Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah,
right.
I know that you're a part of that, and I love watching videos about the 70s wrestling eras and stuff like that, and saying when they were heels, they would know if they had heat when their tires were slashed.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. Like, it would get really personal.
Being a
back
guy
in
is
the
crazy.
day.
Being a wrestler must be insane.
Yeah.
Like, you guys seek fights. This is crazy.
Well, don't seek fights outside of the ring.
Okay,
good. It's show business, right? Like, sometimes when people meet me, they go, "Wow, we thought you were going to be a real jerk," and I'm like, "Well, Anthony Hopkins doesn't really walk down the street in a straitjacket. He delivers with a fine Chianti, and he's not really Hannibal Lecter." But some people have a problem distinguishing that fantasy from real life, because wrestling does walk the line.
Yeah.
There was times when I've been attacked on the streets. In Victoria, BC, I got attacked by fans, and security were just standing there watching. There's a video of me doing your effing job, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, I'm being mobbed by zombies, and I'm the jerk. So that doesn't happen as much anymore. But there used to be a time, even just 10, 12 years ago, when people would still want to attack you on the street. It's like, guys, it's not that important. Please,
In the moment, are you like, obviously you're like, probably just horrified, or just like, what the hell is going on? But then after, you're like, oh man, I did that.
I mean, I have a pretty low tolerance for jerks.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's why I'm the nicest guy until maybe somebody does something like that and you have to switch, because then it becomes survival. I don't know if they have a knife or a gun or
No,
How
people are
serious
crazy
it can get,
nowadays, right? So, but it's good to get that type of response and get that type of emotion, because once again, you want people to be engaged with what you're doing, but you don't want to be fighting people on the streets. It's kind of walking the line, overstepping the line.
Yeah.
I do want to talk to you about like signature moves, because I'm sure that you'd have to try different moves until you got to like the wall of Jericho, right? Were there any that you're like, oh, I could have went this way, but I didn't? Or how does one come? And a lot of it is marketing. I think you're a great marketing genius of how you name things and how you go about it. But tell me about like the signatures.
Well, once again, you want to kind of create a stable of moves that you do that people are familiar with that, and they know they're yours, and then you can start messing with it. How do people get out of it, and how do you reverse it, and how do you tease for this? And that's kind of how you build a match around like maybe 4 or 5 signature moves, and a couple of those are your finishing moves, and a couple of them are just kind of like really cool, lion salt, that sort of thing. And that kind of, once again, it elicits a certain response that if I try for the walls of Jericho, people start cheering for it, and then either we do it or we reverse it, or somehow the guy gets out of it, or whatever it may be. So that's an important part of putting together a match as well.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known that, because my brother put me in the walls of Jericho all the time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I didn't know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
Same.
Well,
So it's like,
you got to
did you know you're responsible for all these people getting put in walls of Jericho?
Yeah.
I hope it works better for them than it works for me. Do not try this at home, right?
Please.
I was telling them, I was going to ask you if you'd be open to putting me
I
in
was
the walls
just
of
saying, do you
Jericho.
know how many people ask me? But it's a no-win situation. Either I literally like break your back and get sued,
You don't mind.
or nothing happens. The guy goes, "Oh, they didn't even hurt at all."
Do people get asked to be put on your list?
That was a big thing for a while, and that was 8 years ago now. But there's certain things that you do. They're like having hits, as in a rock and roll,
Right?
You know what I mean? And that one was a huge hit, and always, can you put me on the list? Can you put me on the list? Can you please sign you? And I was like, no, you can't request
To be on the list?
and you can't decide that you're on the list. You want to do that, make your own effing list.
Yeah.
So I still like, when at the time Funko Pops were really popular.
Yeah.
And I signed so many of those things.
Really?
Can you sign? You just like, no, that's far too long. My list. Make your own damn list.
Leave me alone.
The coolest thing is, like last year or 18 months ago, I won the world title for the 8th time, so I was calling myself the Ocho. That's the best nickname, because all I got to do is just sign an 8.
An 8.
Oh,
That's
that's
it.
cool.
Chris
That's
Jericho 8.
hilarious.
Now I got to do the learning tree, but I would rather say Chris Jericho 8.
8.
Easiest way, you get a little extra bonus, and there's my name for the week.
If you had a list in 2024, who would be on it?
I mean, the funny thing about that was it was just, what were we doing at the moment? Like I remember we were in somewhere in Connecticut or New Hampshire or something like that. We're close to where the Patriots play, and that's what everyone was calling Tom Brady the GOAT. And I was calling myself the GOAT at the time. I remember put Tom Brady on the list, and I ran into Tom a few years later at a private airport. And it was early in the morning. I think I'd been drinking all night. I was a little bit kind of loadsy. And when I met him, he's like, "Hey, I made the list," and I was like, Tom Brady, you made the list. Yes, you're actually the GOAT. It's fine. But people love that. They all wanted to be on the list, but I wouldn't even know who would be on it. It would just have to be what the storyline is and what we're doing. And the cool thing about that, and it's one of my rules too in wrestling, is play it straight. You always play it straight. So when you got put on the list, the one thing I said when we first started doing is, you got to sell like this is the worst thing ever. You can't laugh it off. Like you need to be like, no, you just made the list. It's like,
I'm doomed.
Yes, and that's how it worked. You do it together and work together to make it happen. So, and that's one thing I said. Like wrestling really is a team sport. If you all work together and play along and sell for each other, as we like to say, you can really put together some cool stuff.
I love it. Chris Jericho, you always have amazing style too. We're looking at your different fits.
You see his boots? His boots
Yeah,
are
his boots
nice.
right now are
Look at
vibes. What about for What about for AEW? Is there some kind of styling involved? Because the different outfits and that makes his much of the character as you in it, right? How about deciding this is my look for the learning tree, or this is what we're gonna go moving forward?
Yeah, well, once again, whenever you switch from good guy to bad guy, for example, I always try and do something where you see the look and know instantly, okay, that's the learning tree era.
Right.
That's the Ocho era. That's the Le Champion or whatever it may be. So, I mean, this grew a beard. I hadn't had a beard for a few years. I was going through, I get all these really immaculate, like, leather jackets made, but this character didn't feel that, so I got rid of those. And I have like 20 of those in my closet now.
No way, just you.
Yeah, so this, I just decided maybe it's like a suit jacket with no shirt and these kind of sparkly type shoes, and just play with the look. There's a beard now, maybe you can tie the hair back.
You look wise.
And now you see it, and you know, okay, that's the learning tree. I look nice.
You look wise.
Wise.
Oh, wise.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Wise.
man.
He's
Well,
here
that's
to
what we want.
teach you a
Yeah, teaching lessons.
You had one that had the crazy sideburns.
Yeah, well, that was another thing too. Like I would just change my facial hair basically weekly, because you know when you're on TV every week or twice a week, you got to keep things fresh. You know, people see you, and like I said, like I'm a huge David Bowie fan,
Love David
and
Bowie.
there's like 10 different eras of Bowie. Like where you go to a Halloween party,
Right.
you can see 10 Bowies and know, okay, that's Bowie. And you can, and with Jericho too. Like there's every year at Halloween, people go as different eras of me,
you.
and you can post like, okay, that's really cool. There's a Painmaker, there's Y2J, there's, you know, like I said, the Wizard or whatever it may be, and you can see that. And I like that idea. You should always keep things changed up and fresh, to keep people on their toes. You know, keep people interested in what it is that you're doing.
We have a costume party. It's a David Bowie theme. Which era David Bowie are you?
I mean, Aladdin Sane is the famous one with the lightning bolt.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
People think that's Ziggy Stardust, but it's not. It's Aladdin Sane. That's a great one. Thin White Duke, which is when he went blonde hair for the Modern Love and Let's Dance era. But yeah, I'd probably I have a cruise every year, and one of the theme, we have theme nights every night, and this year was Dressed Like Your Favorite Rock Star or whatever, and I did the Aladdin Sane with the
Come on.
kind of clown costume and the red hair and kind of there's white in the face and so yeah, that's probably my favorite.
I would go Labyrinth, David Bowie.
Oh, that's a
'cause
good
my
one.
favorite
That's
David
a good
Bowie,
one.
Yeah, and
See,
I would
once
sing
again,
Jump Magic Jump.
We've named 5 so far, and you would know them all exactly what they
Okay,
are.
you guys, we do a Chris Jericho theme costume party. Which era Jericho are you guys?
Y2J.
Y2J?
Y2J with the sparkly jacket.
And the hair on the top.
Yep, hair on the top.
Yeah.
That's legendary. I'll do the short hair when you were in the program with Shawn Michaels.
Okay, so that would be like the suit and tie guy, Jericho.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
Greg.
definitely Liz Jericho. That was my favorite Jericho. Yeah,
You have long hair right now, right?
Yeah, I'm growing it out right now. Yeah, but I don't know. The Liz Jericho was the best Jericho for me. I was
People
like, I
always
love
made their
it.
own lists.
Yeah, that's it.
If you look at the first list when we first started doing it, it was basically just like a folder, like someone's high school folder. And I was like, we need something better than this.
Yeah, this doesn't
This
look
is
like.
so we made that steel kind of look like a box kind of thing and
Yeah.
a list on it.
Yeah.
And people love that. Just the click of the pen.
Yeah,
was-
you made the list.
pen.
So,
Yeah, I was like, let me see if I can get a click of a pen over. So this whole-
Right.
you know what happens? You know what happens? Hold the pen up like this, and then like,
It's so
That's
crazy.
hilarious.
yeah.
It's so wild.
Okay, no, Chris Jericho, it's amazing to have you in here because more than anything, what you've done is inspire kids, inspire people, inspire men and women to, I guess, dig into their inner whatever personality you have
Right.
at the time.
Yeah.
Whether it's Learning Tree, whether it's Ocho, all of the Y2J stuff. And I think that that's the most beautiful part of it all. You can knock wrestling, you can judge it or maybe not pay attention to it, but the way that people light up with your presence, with even knowing about you or having watched something, I think that's the priceless part of it, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and listen, when people say, hey, I don't watch wrestling, that's fine. You know, I don't watch, cricket. Like,
True.
it's okay, guys. Like, you don't have to explain it. For the people that watch it, the people that enjoy it, I mean, that's kind of what I've always, why I do this, is to entertain fans and to give people cool things to enjoy,
Right.
When the work day is done. And it all stemmed, I was just a kid that had this goal of wanting to be a wrestler and wanting to be in a rock and roll band and just went out and did it. And I think that's my message for anybody that has a dream or something they want to accomplish, then just go do it. Like,
Right.
don't listen to people that tell you can't do it, because believe me, nobody thought I could be a wrestler in 1990 when I said I wanted to do this. Like, you're too small for that. You'll never do it. And I was like, well, that's the worst thing you can say to someone that's driven,
Right.
because now I'm going to show you,
Yeah.
stick it up your culo that I am going to do. So to me that was always the thing. Like I'm gonna do it, and then once I do it, then it's kind of letting people know that if I did it, you can do it too.
Yeah. So for a wrestler, you're small. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
Not now. Now I'm one of the bigger guys.
But even your height.
Yeah, now I'm, but when I started,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
it was through the Hulk Hogan
Taker.
era.
Oh God,
Taker,
you like
you
big
know,
shows to me.
6'5",
Big show.
6'6".
You had to be like
you know?
startling at the airport. Like people had to look at you like, whoa.
Well, just to be the size and that sort of a thing. So, and that once again, that's why I started in Mexico, because it wasn't as much.
They
of a
look like
size
us.
Yeah.
in
We're little
Japan.
ones. Yeah.
So
This is our size.
it's about being excited and about having great matches, and the style was changing then.
Yeah.
And so now it's like I am one of the bigger guys. We still have some really big guys in our company. I mean, the Redwood Big Bill with me is probably 6'8".
Yeah.
But guys are just smaller. It's about the characters and the personality, like it always has been. And the match style is much more dynamic.
Athleticism.
Much more athleticism. The athletes in AEW are next level. Like I remember when I started doing a lion salt, like we said, a moonsault, a backflip from the second rope was like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever. Now guys do that like sleeping, like they're counting sheep, they're counting lion salts as they're snoring. It's a completely different world, and once again, I love that. And how am I still able to contribute at a high level is by using the experience that I have, and like I mentioned, with the characters and the stories and that sort of thing. And how do you put together a match? When do you do things? Where do you put things? That's kind of what I really am good at, is kind of taking people on a ride throughout a match to where you never quite know what's going to happen.
Amazing.
Come on, Chris motherfucking Jericho.
All right, I didn't know we could swear. There you go.
In here with Brown Bag Mornings, like you're in
Legend.
our list of the best people we've ever had on here.
Primo.
I made
He's a
the
primo.
brown bag
You
list.
made the Brown Bag
Primo, man.
list, you guys.
I just made the list.
You're the primo, dog.
You're a primo,
That's your
for
new
sure.
nickname here.
Primo
You're the
Jericho.
primo, and the primo's gonna be at the forum tonight for
yes.
AEW
Tonight.
Dynamite.
Yeah.
Make sure you get your tickets. Ticketmaster.com. You're gonna see us there. We're gonna make signs all over.
yeah.
It's gonna
That'd be great. The
Yeah.
learning tree signs.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure.
amazing.
I'm gonna
Be
go as
there.
a learning tree like this.
There you go.
Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you guys. Muchas gracias.
Come
Yeah.
on.